I honestly did not care whether I lived or died. But now, I can...
You think if he... you think if he didn't go to death row, would he still be alive?
Wow. It's hard to say.
I can't leave until this is straight. You know, I can't go until y'all really know what time it is.
For nearly 30 years, we've all accepted the same story about what happened to Tupac. Vegas, drive-by, 6 days in the hospital, done. Case closed. But now Maprem Shakur, Tupac's actual brother, is sitting on Piers Morgan's show, basically saying we've been fed a load of lies this whole time.
What did he say that day when he called you?
You know, I have my guys with me, Thug Life guys, and we heard what he had to say. He basically said he ain't have nothing to do with my brother's murder.
This isn't some random YouTuber with a crazy theory. This is family. This is a guy who grew up with Tupac and knew him better than anyone. And he's looking straight into the camera with a calm but intense expression and suggesting that everything we thought we knew is complete nonsense. Maprem told Diddy years ago that the truth always comes out. That was back in 2008 when Diddy actually called him, trying to convince the family he was innocent. And now, 17 years later, Maprem's sitting there saying, we're going to see what the real truth is. That's not random speculation, that's someone who knows more than he's letting on. When Piers asks him about Diddy's denials, you know, all those times Diddy swore he had nothing to do with Tupac's death, Maprem doesn't buy it. Not even close. He's got serious doubts, and he's not afraid to say it publicly.
I get the feeling quite strongly that you don't believe Diddy. I don't think you believe a word of it.
Seems like he got a whole bunch of power on him, like absolute power.
He's not screaming conspiracy or making wild claims. He's planting seeds of doubt with the precision of someone who knows exactly what he's doing.
Puffy called me back in the day. He called me, he was like, I just want you to know I ain't have nothing to do with your brother's, you know, I know who you are, but we never met.
Think about that for a second. Innocent people don't usually feel the need to call up a M victim's family 12 years after the fact to explain themselves. But Diddy was rattled enough by street talk and whispers that he reached out through radio host Big Boy to set up a conversation with Maprem. Picture that phone call. Diddy's probably got his whole team around him, maybe even lawyers, and he's trying to convince Tupac's brother that he had absolutely nothing to do with the shooting, swearing up and down that he's innocent. But here's the thing, Maprem wasn't buying it. Not then, not now. His response was pure gold. The truth always comes out. 4 words that probably haunt Diddy's dreams to this day. And Maprem was right about that. Fast forward to 2025 and look where we are. Diddy's facing federal racketeering charges. His mansions got raided. People are talking who never talked before. The walls are closing in. That 2008 phone call was supposed to be damage control. Diddy thought he could smooth things over with the family, maybe even get them to publicly support his innocence. Instead, it backfired completely. Why? Because Maprem saw right through it. He listened politely, accepted the denials, but never truly believed them. And now, 17 years later, he's on TV basically saying Diddy's story doesn't hold water. You can see it in his eyes. There's something deeper here. And think about it. If your brother was M'd and you truly believed the official story, would you be on national TV questioning everything? Probably not. You'd want closure. You'd want to move on. But Maprem is still fighting for answers 3 decades later. And Maprem's prophecy is finally coming true. The truth really is coming out. And here's where things get absolutely crazy. You know how Diddy has been denying any involvement with Tupac's death for decades. Well, now it turns out federal investigators have been sitting on some pretty damning evidence this whole time. We're talking about secret police recordings where Diddy's name gets mentioned 47 times. 47 times in connection with Tupac's shooting. And this isn't some random gossip or street rumors. These are official law enforcement interrogation tapes with Keefe D, the guy who's now charged with Tupac's M.
Shug looks over, he sees you.
Yeah.
He looks right at you.
Yeah, he looks at me.
Keefe D didn't just whisper these allegations in some dark alley. He sat across from federal agents with recording equipment rolling and allegedly described in detail how Diddy offered millions for both Tupac and Suge Knight's heads. The exact quote that keeps popping up in these files? Diddy allegedly said, "I'll give anything for that dude's head." Now think about this logically. Why would federal prosecutors keep these recordings locked away for decades if they didn't contain serious evidence? Why would Keefe D's statements be considered credible enough to charge him with M based on his own confessions? Here's the really freaky part. These tapes have been sitting in evidence lockers all this time, while Diddy was building his empire, winning awards, making speeches about peace and unity. Every public appearance, every denial, every time he claimed innocence, those 47 mentions were just waiting in the shadows. And now with Diddy facing federal racketeering charges and his whole operation under investigation, those old recordings suddenly look like smoking G's instead of ancient history. The timing is perfect if you think about it. Federal prosecutors love to use old evidence to build pattern cases. If they can prove Diddy was running a criminal enterprise now, what's to stop them from going back and connecting it to alleged crimes from the 1990s? Everyone dismissed Nice as crazy until he promised to release proof and then mysteriously vanished. Gone. Disappeared.
Tupac Shakur didn't actually die in '96 and is still alive and well.
But Nice had insisted that Castro himself approve the operation, turning Tupac into a protected asset of the Cuban government. Sounds insane, right? Except now we have federal agents finding Cuban references in Diddy's most private files. Think about what that means. If Diddy kept documentation connecting him to Cuban operations, it suggests he either knew about Tupac's survival or was actively involved in covering it up. Why else would Diddy have Cuban files unless he was monitoring something or someone on that island? Local residents in Havana have been reporting sightings for years. Some guy with Tupac's build moving through side streets, ducking into cafes, vanishing before anyone could get a clear photo. Grainy footage, eyewitness accounts, persistent rumors of a legendary figure living in plain sight. And then there's the Vegas shooting itself. We're talking about one of the busiest nights on the Strip. September 7th, after the Tyson fight. Thousands of people everywhere, cars, pedestrians, tourists with cameras. But somehow not a single bystander saw the actual shooter. Nobody got a clear look at the G-Man or the vehicle. How is that even possible? Suge Knight, who was literally sitting next to Tupac when it happened, has been dropping hints for years that something doesn't add up. Back in 2014, he straight up told TMZ, "Why you think nobody been arrested? 'Cause Tupac not gone."
I ain't the nigga killed Tupac, I'm the nigga protecting Tupac.
Yeah.
But at the same time, bitch ass Puffy can give him a mother star, and every rat in the world said he didn't want to kill Tupac.
Think about that statement for a second. Suge was there. He lived through the shooting. He knows what really happened that night. And he's suggesting that Tupac isn't actually dead. All these little inconsistencies might seem random individually, but when you put them together, they start forming a pattern. Wrong information on official documents. Key witnesses disappearing or going silent. No reliable eyewitnesses to the actual shooting. Medical professionals retiring immediately after handling the case. Either we're looking at the most incompetent investigation in criminal history, or someone was working very hard to make sure the truth never came out. And with Diddy's current legal troubles and all these federal investigations, maybe we're finally going to see some real answers about what actually happened in Vegas on September 7th, 1996. Now here's the thing about Diddy's current situation that makes all these old conspiracy theories suddenly seem way more believable. Federal prosecutors aren't just going after him for random crimes. They're painting a picture of Bad Boy Records as a full-blown criminal organization that operated for decades under the cover of being a music label.